Hey guys, welcome back to our crypto weekly wrap up. It's been a little bit over a week since we did our last video, but we've had so much happen here in the crypto market here really in the last 2 weeks. What are some of those things you might guess? Well, the whole shenanigans and fallout with FTX, funds being stolen, Ethereum being moved around, sold for Bitcoin, and a host of other things with everything that's really surrounding FTX. So we're going to take some time to dive into the charts, but I do want to let you guys know something right now that's very important to understand because it's usually a staple of our videos, which is the altcoin index chart that we typically have in every video is no longer, there's no volume being streamed, no stream of volume that is coming in as far as a data feed for the altcoin index because that particular instrument that was listed through TradingView was an FTX instrument. And given the state of affairs with FTX right now, we won't be using the altcoin index chart at this time. However, make sure to pay attention to the description for the YouTube video because I will be sharing a resource where you can still gather information about altcoins and how to, basically build a strategy when we are in a bullish market. Once again, how to know when it is a altcoin season and or if it is Bitcoin season. So stay tuned for that. But as we are in the cognizance of what's going on, we do resume with how we normally do things, which is with Bitcoin dominance. And as you see here, when we were paying attention to this on last video, we were pretty much watching to see what this level of support was going to do. We just missed that major level here at the 39.5 handle. And we remember once again, guys, with Bitcoin dominance, it's a measure of percentage. How much does Bitcoin's dominance influence the entire market as well as the market cap? And if you've noticed, we've seen, here in the last 2 weeks, altcoins really perform very, very weak against Bitcoin itself. And we have a great explanation of that. And that's because Bitcoin dominance has been going up, meaning the whole market's down, but Bitcoin has not seen the steep declines as we've seen in the altcoins. And why is that? Taking a look at the different circumstances that have happened here in the last few weeks, projects like Solana and Ethereum have experienced a lot of volume and volatility with everything that's happening around the FTX situation. So guys, what does that mean? Until we really bottom out in the crypto market, I expect the alts to still continue to not perform as well. As typically what happens is people get out of alts and stabilize their gains and or profits in Bitcoin because it's not as volatile as the altcoins. And that's showing pretty much here now, which is we've, temporarily made a bottom here. And we're going back to retest this area of resistance that we previously broke that was support before. And we're coming back into this area to retest it. So I'm looking at 41.37 to be retested or somewhere close to it. There is a little bit of resistance here at the 40.9, 41% level. And from there, we're going to get a decision, meaning if we are going to actually start to turn around and go a little bit higher, given that these areas that we've retested in the past, they've provided, great areas of support. Even though we broke lower here, this bullish engulfing candle that we got took out all of these small volume candles. And that's what turned the Bitcoin dominance around, meaning that, like I said before, we've basically been in a declining market since October of last year. And we haven't seen Bitcoin, decline in the fashion of which we have with altcoins. And it's still proven that as of right now. So I want to keep an eye on what's going to happen here with Bitcoin dominance as it looks to, find its way up to the 41% handle or the 41.3. And we want to pay attention to what happens here because there is a lot of overhead resistance here. And I would say if this continues to climb, what essentially that means is we might see some consolidation, slow declines in Bitcoin and or sideways movement while the rest of the alts continue to fall. And if we get here and we see this turn back around, then we could typically see alts kind of go sideways or stabilize a little bit. But we know that we have some ideal projections of specific levels of support for both Bitcoin and certain altcoins that we want to see prices achieve during this bear market before we bottom out. And we have been getting closer and closer to those targets here since we've been making these videos. So guys, this is what I want to pay attention to, which is, are we going to get this move up and turn around and head back lower, or are we going to get this move up and go higher? And like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin's price will go higher, but that Bitcoin won't bleed as much as the altcoins. So just pay attention, always wait for price to react. Then you make a decision. So guys, that is Bitcoin dominance. And as I mentioned already, we don't have the altcoin chart anymore. Given that it was data that was streamed from FTX, and we are aware of the situation that's going on with that. And if you're not, please spend some time on crypto Twitter and pay attention to what's been going on here for the last couple of weeks. So now that we actually look at Bitcoin, what happened last week? Well, we had this bullish engulfing pattern bearishly. I know that sounds kind of funny. So what do I mean by that? That means price went sideways like we've been talking about, what we were expecting. And then we dumped, breaking these lows that we had printed here, way back in June. And anytime you see a bearish engulfing candle, bearish engulfing candle, then you can expect a little bit of sideways. That was a lot of volume as far as liquidity leaving the market. And that was on a weekly chart. So we jump back down to the daily chart and we look at all our major levels of, let's see here, let's move that out of the way. All our major levels of support and resistance, we see what happened here essentially. We went sideways, we went back and retraced right here to an area of resistance that we previously had in the past, and we started our decline. This happened, the whole market basically shifted. And usually when you get a break lower, breaking a level of support, you get a retest. And as you see, that following day, we got that. And since then, we've just been dragging lower. Okay. And that's what we're doing right now. We're just basically consolidating in this area. And so that means we can do that for a while. Given that this week is Thanksgiving, as a major holiday in the US, we may not get a lot of volume this week, which means we can kind of consolidate here for a while until we go into the next week. And we know going into the following week, we are looking at December, end of year, and what we could possibly expect from there. And that is, if we pull out our Fibonacci tool and take a look at this drop that we had here and zoom in. Okay, let's move that one out of the way. Take those off. Okay, that, we failed. We retested that area of now resistance that was broken as level support. We've already made our retest. So, can we sideways here and do another pump fake back into these areas? Yeah. The only way I expect that to happen is if we get a bearish dollar, which we will come back to that here in a few charts. We'll be circling back to the dollar index to see what's happened. But obviously, we have been in awareness that there are lower levels that we have been looking for. And so when we go back to the weekly chart, what is that? 13K, 14K? Let's see here. 13K. You know, we've been talking about 13, 12K for quite a while. And we know that we've been using our fib tool to give us some of those indications. So now if we remove the one that we just had on, and we go back to the tool that we've been using for quite a while, which was this range that we've been playing in for months. And if you notice that we have two levels of support here, which just about coincides with what we see here. 12K. So what is that to say, guys? What we've been saying for months now is we want to see these levels get hit. And as you look here, it makes the most sense. So in between these two ranges, we had a spike in activity, volume that has happened in the past, that has acted as levels of resistance before breaking into bear market. Now, will they act as level of support here in the bear market? So now that's what I am waiting for, knowing that this is going to be something that's going to just happen naturally, given this week, once again, you know, low volume, low volatility. If something big happens this week, will be contributed towards news. Other than that, I'm expecting a little bit of slowdown here this week, and with the intention that we are going to start to drift into these levels. And not to say that that's going to happen, like I said, this week, but we know that we can see this kind of play out even maybe going into the new year. We will wait and see if we're going to get these major levels hit, you know, sometime in December. But that is what I am paying attention to right now. You know, Bitcoin made a bearish engulfing candle. We've retested the area of support that was broken that's now resistance. And we're just kind of trading sideways because there's not a lot of volume right now. But we do have the expectation that, you know, prices between 12K and 13K gets hit. And we then wait and see how the market will react. But that is our analysis for Bitcoin, guys. And so now we want to jump over to Ethereum. And given, once again, if you guys wasn't aware of what has happened today, that is, you know, some of the funds that were hacked from FTX were converted into Ethereum, I believe last week. And as of today, they started to sell off some of the Ethereum, which is why we've experienced this dump here, which doesn't look very big. But if you compare it into the amount of volume that we've had here, you know, in the last few days where there wasn't a lot of activity, this is what's going on right now, which is we've had this major crash the same day we had what happened with Bitcoin. We had our retest, just like Bitcoin did. And since then, we've been trading in a range, taking out, retesting levels of resistance, bouncing between levels of support. And now, as you see here, the candle that took us lower was that dump that we saw with Ethereum. But we've been saying, much like we've been saying with Bitcoin, which is we've been expecting lower levels with Ethereum. And so now when we look at, you know, where some of those areas are, it can look a little scary, which is we look at some major levels of support. Okay, let's see there. And let's see there. So there's a lot in between this area here, which is between an $800 and a $500 Ethereum. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? Given that we were almost at $4,000, I believe, all the way at the high, or should we passed that? We were almost up to 5K. But that's giving perspective, guys. When we were once in bull market with Ethereum. I mean, we bounced from $80+ before we took off. That was wonderful return. So for us to have an understanding that we are coming down into these $100 levels, anywhere from 800 to 500, I say that's a great discount. But if we were to look here in the intern, okay, my mouse is acting a little funky. Okay, no worries. So now we take a look at what we got going on here. And as you see here, they just about line up with everything that we were just looking at here, which is if we're expecting a 12, 13K Bitcoin to be tested, then we expect lower prices on Ethereum and just about everything now. And it lines up with everything that happens pretty much in every bear cycle that we've experienced with crypto, which is you typically get anywhere between an 80 to 90% crash, a reset, flush out. And what does that mean also too for you guys that are invested in certain altcoins? Sad, real truth here. Some of these will not come back. And what matters is who continues to build during this time. So keep that in mind. If you're invested, for example, in altcoins that have a low market cap, how are they being affected during this time? Are they liquid? Are they in position to weather the bear market? So keep those things in mind if you are doing some degen plays. Okay, so, but other than that, like I said, guys, with Ethereum, it's going to be a low, slow drift lower. We got to come back and retest this candle down at, say, 815 that we haven't even retested yet before we can see what's to come next. But like I said, again, if we are expecting lower prices for Bitcoin, we want to see these areas retested between an $800 and $500 levels, which takes us down into key levels of support that acted as resistance in the previous bull market. So guys, that is Ethereum. And now Solana, the one has been hurt the most here in the last few weeks with everything that's been going on. So we knew that when we first were watching Solana, we had this ascending wedge pattern and we broke down. We played this for weeks on weeks, just dancing between support and resistance. And so now we'll put this back on here in a second, but I wanted this to be much more clear to you guys. What happened? We had excellent news by Microsoft, which basically provided a retest. It was a liquidity grab, guys. It was to retest this previous area of resistance, and it failed, unable to make a new high. And we figured it was not going to make a new high. Why? Because we are in a bear market. And so you get what's called relief rallies. And these relief rallies can have detrimental outcomes, and we happen to see that. Given this was a little bit of a dramatic decline, mostly contribute to the FTX situation. And so what's going on now? Last time we had our video, we mentioned that, we had hit, a level of support, which was, around $11 level. But as you see now, we are not doing too well with that. And we also said that that was what is possible to happen too as well. It's that much like what we saw with Bitcoin and Ethereum, when we made this flash crash on all of them, we went back to retest areas of resistance that was broken support. And if you, in particular with Solana, if you are in a space where there is no demand, I mean, this is what you're going to get, the type of price action that you're going to get. And so as you see now, it retested this bottom, but if you zoom in much closer, it broke lower than where it originally broke. Support was at $12.22, and we're currently below it. So what is to say what's going on here? We're essentially going to get as close as possible to retest that area of broken support that's now resistance before we head on lower. And what can lower look like, guys? Well, when we are in the understanding and awareness, let's get that out of there. When we are in the understanding and awareness of what also plays into factor with this is all major assets across the board pay attention to what's called psychological levels. We like round figures. Markets like round figures because everything is mathematical. So when we look at, for example, we go to our $10 level. Let's see here. Let's see, 10, right around there. Oops, let's get that off of there. Okay, when we look at what's going on at $10, in the past, we had some price action here, nothing too major, but like I mentioned before, because price in the markets love psychological levels, I'm expecting a slide to $10. And I mean, it can happen very fast, given that, you know, we have seen this low. Like I said, I don't expect it to just tank there, because as you look down here on our RSI, that we're very low. So we might get that little push higher to go and retest, like I said, that area of resistance that we had and didn't drop lower. However, where I'm looking at the most, and for us that are fans of Solana and we're in the NFT space, $5 might seem crazy, but if you pay attention to what happened in the bull market, $5 is nothing, given, you know, at a point in time we were at cents, less than $1 before we made this massive run. Now, given, could part of that massive run potentially been part of what happened with FTX and Alameda and SBF? Yes. Does that mean that the entire chain is dead? Not necessarily. And this is something that I've had a conversation with quite a few people here over the last couple of weeks, is you always want to pay attention to, you know, investors' sentiment behind what's going on with a particular project. What is going on from the development standpoint? Meaning, is there still activity going on? Are people still coming to build? They want to make the project continue to do well. Those things you keep in mind. Are we in awareness and understanding that FTX had a big portion of supply of the Solana token? Yes. Does it mean they can dump it all at one time? Not necessarily. So these are the things that come with risk to reward when you're looking at the market, given the technology that's behind Solana, what could potentially happen here in the future, the owners who stand behind it that encourage people to continue building. You know, it is a play that you have to, you know, just really think about for yourself if it's something that you want to invest in, given what potential ROI could come in the future. But as of right now, guys, like I said, I'm waiting for the $10 level to get hit. I said there's another level between $7 and $8, but ultimately I want to see 5. 5 is comparable to what we could possibly see with a $12 to $13K Bitcoin. And that is Solana, guys. So just hold on out, just wait, and we see what happens from. Okay, guys, and now we're looking at the DXY, also known as the dollar index, and what has happened here. I mean, essentially, we've broken our trend line. We broke down, and we know with trend lines that are broken, we tend to want to retest them. So what does that mean? We could dance around in these levels, you know, given that we have some resistance at 107.7. If we decide to creep back up there before we drop lower, it's very possible. As well as if we completely turn all the way around, that can get scary too also. I said, given the statehood of what's going on with crypto right now, for its own fundamental reasons, the stock market has continued to go higher, especially the Dow Jones. Is it that we have a top in the DXY currently? Yes, we do. Is it to say that it is the top of the top? Not necessarily. We're going to have to allow time to continue to give us more data. But currently, right now, like I said, this trend line that we've had all the way back since February, that was holding very, very strong. Like I said, guys, this isn't perfect, but it's to give you perspective that we've compromised this trend line. And when you compromise a trend line, at times we tend to reverse trend. But we have to wait and see what type of reaction we get when we retest certain levels of resistance, anywhere between 107 and 109. That's going to allow us to see if this is indeed our top for a while, and we're going to continue lower. And we keep eye on that, like I said, with the stock market. And so that's pretty much what we are looking at, guys, coming into this week. Like I said, it's a slow week. We're pretty much, going to be going into holiday week. I'm not expecting too much movement, a little bit of dancing around, but expect more volatility the following week. And more into December as, businesses, the government, and everything that's been going on for the entire year wraps up as we go into the new year. And what kind of yearly closes are we going to be looking forward to? As that data continues to come in and we have a better perspective of how we can close our year out, then we can have some idea about what is to come here in the near future. So, guys, have a wonderful week. If you are here in the USA, have a happy Thanksgiving. Spend your time with family, friends, those that you love, those that you are close to, and understand that this market is always going to be here. So don't put too much effort or be stressed out about it. We live to invest and trade another day. Guys, have a wonderful one.